Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. This is one of my favorite things to do. I actually have almost complete creative team for an amazing series here. We have everybody but the letterer who's in Britain and asleep for Bitterroot, the new movement. So David, Matt, Chuck, Sanford, Shelly. I just pretty much went around the corner. Hi, it's great to have you. How are you?
Hanging in there as best I can.
I
Doing
think we're
okay. Pretty good.
we're all exhausted because we are so close to our big comeback. It's been a few
Yeah.
years, and Bitterroot, the next movement, is just a few weeks from debuting,
Yep.
and it is
And
something else.
at a few days from FOC. So hopefully this episode will go up tomorrow and we'll say you've got the weekend to tell your comic shop to order you Bitterroot, the new movement #1. Um, I'm gonna cop right now, like as I reread Bitterroot and loved it, loved it, loved it. I also couldn't help but sit back and go, I am a relatively affluent white male that grew up as an even more affluent white male. I don't even know if I'm qualified to ask questions. So the first thing I'm going to say is if I ever ask the wrong question, tell me what the right question is. Because as an autistic person, I've definitely discovered that a lot of the times the questions that get asked to me are just the wrong questions. No, that's not what matters. This is what matters. So if I ask the wrong question, just tell me, and we'll talk about the right question. But I want to start with tell me what the book means to you. Where did it come from? What does it mean to you? Because it's a fascinating story and how you dealt with generational trauma and historic racism in a direct but compassionate way. Just fascinates me. Yeah. I'm gonna let you guys take it from here for a minute because I don't even know what to say.
I think that, we came back together because we didn't have enough stuff stressing us out in our lives. We didn't have enough stuff making us, oh, I got Chuck to smile. Look at that. That's done
Won't
done
happen
good.
again. Won't happen
Um,
again. Hmm.
no, it just felt like, you know, we needed to do something. And it's been a long time in the making. The core team, everybody's got a million things going on, and so it was just a question of getting the timing right. um but we'd always talked about, taking the story further, exploring more different generations of the family, things like that. And it was like, you get faced with, we always talk about, oh, there's just never enough time, right? Well, the reality is there's never going to be enough time. Time is the one commodity that there's not enough of. It can never be replaced. And so for me, it just sort of felt like, we need to do this now before we're all too old and decrepit. I'm already feeling kind of old and decrepit. So that was it. And it was just, a great opportunity to meet new characters. And in some ways for me, it felt like when Star Trek The Next Generation first dropped, and it was like, really? You're going to give us a whole new cast of characters? Like I like the old cast, but I don't need anything new, right? And then we got it, and it was like, oh, yo, wait a sec, this is a good show. And so for me, that was sort of like what I knew that we had I knew that within us as a group we had a story.
Are we just gonna
Think
let David
Mic
do all the
drop.
okay?
That was one
Let
hell of a
let
mic
let
drop.
let the guy with laryngitis do all the talking.
Well,
There you go.
I
um
think Chuck should can Chuck talk next because wow, I have
Yeah.
to say I'm going to be a good listener today, but yeah, it's all about family. Chuck, what was your inspiration for this
um
story?
like Bitterroot, I think a lot of comics that a lot of us write and read, it's an act of resistance, it's a way of showing people there are other ways. There are a way of reaching people that you wouldn't normally reach to maybe change a few minds, change a few hearts here and there. It's also very therapeutic, with Bitterroot. I get to learn a lot, I get to work a lot, I get to work with my friends, which is something we don't do enough of, which is just vibe and work together. And that's just why it's important. People really need this, the world needs this, and it's just a way of kind of resisting the madness in the world right now. That's not just right now, but in general, and also to educate people as well.
Because history repeats itself.
It is
Too
repeating.
often.
For
Yep.
people for people who are listening, the next movement is set in 1964, and it's got an uncanny correlation to reality. But let's push
As did the 1924.
exactly. Let's take it over to Sanford because I know he has a lot to say about what this storyline means to him.
Sanford, you're muted.
Oh,
There you
um,
go.
yeah, just like what these guys just shared, it's all therapeutic. Just I think over the last couple of years, right before the pandemic, during the pandemic, I think that's when we really started to reassess, just where we were. And honestly, um, people, I can go to different conventions and what have you. And one of the major questions, when are you bringing back Bitterroot? And so it was also not just for us, but it was for people that really um, they want this book, they need this book in many ways. So it's a obligation in a lot of ways, a duty to some degree that we uh, bring it back. And I think one of the things that these guys have done as far as the story is concerned is really take it up another level in terms of the storytelling. What can you do? What else can you do? How else can you tell this story? Um, you know, to your question, Ted, on systemic issues, racism, those different things, but tell it in a unique way, like what we did in the first volume. And they came up with a really great um, viewpoint, time period in the 60s, and then with the aesthetics of what we're doing, again, always using um, history with some fantastical elements. We found a way to really take it to another level with this volume.
Yeah, there was.
I,
I'll say this. I'll add this. I'm not going to name this person, but there's a really successful comic creator who I'm friends with who pulled me aside at a convention like maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago, and was like, "Look, you know, I'm tired of everybody talking about bitter root and there not being any more bitter root. And like you owe it, you guys owe it to your fans and you owe it to to other creators to take this further because there's a lot of us still living in your shadow and you're not doing anything with it." That kind of struck me because it's really great when, the fans come up to you and say, "We want more." But when creators that you respect come to you and say, "This book really inspires us to push ourselves creatively," um, and that really kind of hit me really hard. So that was another part of it too. Was like we owe it to the fans, we owe it to other creators, we also owe it to this family that we've created. Not just the original characters that we met in the first, three arcs, but now the future generations.
And I have to just say, I mean, this book is so necessary right now. I mean, we could say that with every arc that the team has done. And I wasn't a part of the first one, by the way. I don't want to take credit for it. But since I've joined the team, I feel like there's something that's so inherently topical and not just socially and politically, but I think just the family dynamics are important to consider. And so I'm just proud that we got our acts together. This one's been coming for a couple of years, and the timing is finally right for everyone on the team. And I'm just so excited for all the fans to get to finally see it.
I want to turn back to a decision you made in the first book that I assume will carry over um, in having hatred become Jinnu, and I'm flipping through the pages and forgetting what it becomes when it's um, loss and sorrow. But having those things be something that can be cast out um, gives a certain amount of compassion to people that are doing things that you would hope that they wouldn't be doing. Um, and I think that that's part of the masterstroke of Bitterroot is that it shows that everybody can be wrapped up in emotions and do things in ways that they wish that they hadn't, and that the way to overcome that is to see each other and love each other and choose. I mean, at the end, it's choosing not to fight the tree, not to feed the tree. Where does that come from? How do you make that particular decision?
I'll let one of you answer. I got a cough. I'm gonna mute myself because I'll be back in a sec.
Chuck, what do you think, man?
I think a lot of us, even today, we struggle with either turning the other cheek or slitting the throat, and I
Right.
think kind of the core of Bitterroot, when you like, if you're writing Superman or Spider-Man, they're taking this great responsibility upon themselves to help others, right? And that's something I kind of aspire to be, is to to lend that helping hand and not want to reach out and strangle somebody. I want to maybe hopefully change their mind. So the sangria kind of represent that higher level of us trying to basically extend an olive branch or be that front line to basically change the world for the better. But on the flip side of that, we have the amputators that, just fed up with the bullshit and they just want to take you out, right? And they just don't have time for the nonsense and the races. And some people just are beyond help, right? So I don't think,
Right.
in my opinion, I don't think the book is all just about the healing, but it's also about the question, do you
Right.
heal or do you amputate? So,
One of the
Well, and that oh, I'm sorry, Sanford.
no, I was just going to say one of the um, great struggles. I'll speak specifically within the Black community, or minority communities, especially the Black community, is the Malcolm X approach or the Martin approach. Um, there's not an either or. It's both, but there is arguments for both, and I think that was kind of the beginning stages of, like, how do we explain this fight using these different fantastical elements. The serums represents different types of ways of dealing with this epidemic, if you will, and its commentary on those different approaches, from a social standpoint.
And I think that it's also crucial to understand that, you know, there's someone can be really sick and you can tell them, hey, you've got cancer, and the only way you're going to be able to battle this is to go through chemo, have surgery, whatever. But you can't force them to do that. And some people will allow the sickness that they have to totally destroy them. And that was sort of what I was thinking about. I've been thinking about that all along. And I think what part of what Bitter Root is about is like you have this family that's trying to tell other people, yo, you're sick. Like we can help you get better, but people aren't interested in getting better, right? And when we started this several years ago, it wasn't as obvious, it felt like it wasn't as much of a metaphor or an analogy for what's going on today. But now we really see people that are just they like they wallow in their sickness, they wallow in their depravity, and you really saw a lot of that in the 60s. That's why this was the perfect time to set this, because it was when there's so much going on in this country, especially, um, and television news crews were capturing it, and people were seeing what was going on, and like there was people who were like, wait a sec, I can't believe this is happening, and that was sort of what I felt like, this is a great way to address what the family's dealing with, and then when you're dealing with a generation, that's much younger than, it's the 60s, and they're looking back now. The people that were in the original series are all either old or dead, and they're like, you know, oh, this is just like what you told us it was like, only it's worse now, you know? And there's that feeling of like, can we ever learn both sides of the struggle? Can either side ever learn how to make things better as opposed to going, we're just going to make it better for ourselves. We don't care about anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and it certainly feels like we're in a 2 steps back moment now. Um, has that changed the way you look at the book as you were? I mean, it started in 2018, so we were all already starting our first step back, I think. Uh, 2016 felt like a huge step back.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I was going to say, I think this time around, it's, I hate to say it like this, at least for me, it's kind of like we're already in this space. We've been in this space already. We it's kind of like what David just shared, even in the story, this this generation of the sangre of the family, they're referring back to what was told to them, what they've learned, and they are in many ways a little more prepared, I guess, if you want to call it that, from a emotional standpoint. Um, Even in the story, without spoiling anything, there's a situation where one of the characters is fighting one um, of the Jinnu, and their expression is one of, we've seen this before, been there, done. We've been fighting this fight for a long time, and this other person is like, oh my God, I can't believe this stuff exists. She's freaking out, and and one of the members of the Sangre family is just consoling her, saying, we've been doing this for a while, and she's almost kind of like consoling this other character because this character can't take what she's seeing. And I guess to say that, that's kind of like us creatively, at least for where things are now in a social standpoint, political, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we've seen this before, we've been told this before. Some people are losing their minds. I mean, and it's kind of hard to not be affected by a lot of this stuff, but I think just from a uh, historical standpoint, we've been in this fight. The
right.
2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That stuff is all kind of like, oh yeah, yeah. This is what it is, and it's not necessarily just. I'm not saying that to be like pessimistic or anything. It's just being resolute and forward thinking. Like, okay, this is what it is. This
Right.
don't sit there and feel, you know, defeated and helpless, and you know, uh, now more than ever, the fight
Right.
is, you know, is focused. The focus has to be there. So
Okay, Matt, I promise we'll get to you eventually, but we're about to lose Chuck and Sanford. So I have to ask them my required question, which is tell me something you love, preferably a comic, that you wish more people had also experienced so that you could talk to them about it.
For me, I think it was the first Captain America, Red, White, and Blue from Marvel with Isaiah Bradley. That was one of my like all-time favorite comics when I first read that back in the day, and I'd
the truth,
love to share that with more people. And
the truth, Chuck, that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
Truth, that's what it's called. Yeah, Truth. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, that's one of my favorites, and I'd love more people to
That's
read
a
that.
great one.
Sanford, now you got to answer it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think honestly, I know this is kind of a
Bitterroot.
easy one, because Chuck just said it. That's, yeah, that's the one. I mean, I shared when the show first came out, the Captain America, the TV show, um, I posted that cover to the first issue, and people, had questions about, I didn't know, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh, you mean that Joe Quesada image?
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and hang out for as long as you can as I start to go to Matt because I have a specific question for him. But also I hope that I can drag you back at the end of the arc for the spoilery conversation and maybe finally talk more about the art because I have art questions for you, Sanford. I just know that you're on a time schedule. And I don't want to drag them out. So I'm going to ask Matt the question that this is a book where color is important. I mean, color is important in all books, but color is really important in this book. Um, for ages, comics had one shade of white, one shade of black, one shade of yellow that often was way too yellow. um, One of the things from Sophie Dodgson's work on the first 15 issues that I noticed a lot is that there are many shades of brown, many shades of peach, white, whatever we want to call it. Depending on the angle, it's sometimes hard to know. Oh no, the Irish guy is probably not black, but that angle, I had to get his name before I knew that. And this is realistic because uh, race and color, to a certain extent, are a construct. So how do you approach um, again, for lack of a better term, using all of the colors of the rainbow to make your people. Um, because again, in this book, it's that much more important than maybe some others.
Oh, okay. For sure. So that's been kind of like one of the things that I've tried to do on every project that I work on.
Which is very good.
Yeah, like 'cause honestly, it's it, there's a whole gamut of colors of people, and so I've always tried to kind of populate, the pages with a wide variety, from back when I was working on Mega Man to Power Rangers, just every book I've been on, I've always tried to implement that and make sure that reflects reality.
Okay.
Can I
Is
share
it?
something about?
Please.
I'm going to brag on Matt just a moment. One of the reasons
Make me
why
blush.
that I really wanted to get him on this is his sense of creating mood and atmosphere. We talk a lot about this, he and I, on just creating mood, because not every character, for lack of better words, is black and white.
Right.
At least the moments that we're trying to convey. There's an intense moment in the first issue where before the moment happens, there's a certain cue that we were trying to depict a more cooler hue before we get to this big moment, this impacting moment. So it's like blues and greens and kind of washed out. So you just feel this sense, this ominous sense of impending danger, and then we get to this bright, intense color where it all happens. So just his sense of just understanding the moments, creating the mood, I think is what makes, especially what we're trying to convey in this story, really come together.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because I worked on another project and the artist was really concerned with colors because the colorist didn't get like everyone was colored the same shade of brown, right? There was no variation And then I was concerned because I was like, you can't, in comics, sometimes you have to fudge reality because it's not reality, right? And it's like, if we've got all these characters that have brown skin, we've got to be cognizant of the colors of the clothing that they're wearing, what the background looks like. Like we can't have things getting lost. And the colorist got a little frustrated with me at times, and I was like, I get your point why you're doing this way, but like my book is not going to have characters lost on the page, right? And you have to think about that. And the artist was like really getting upset because every time the colorist, whenever you could see the palms of somebody's hands, the colorist was coloring the palms of the hands the same as the back of the hands. And he was like, that's especially when you're dealing with black and brown folks, like there's a difference. Like you can't do that. And so it's interesting, I mean, sometimes I'll see stuff in comics and I'll just be like, um, oh, like have you ever met a woman before? Because no woman has a body like this, right? Like no, like there's I think it's always interesting when we as creators get to have these conversations amongst ourselves and go, let's try to not perpetuate stereotypes and not um let's raise the game up a little bit and let's make
Yeah.
things a little bit more
One, one
welcoming.
of your co-creators, Marcus Anderson, is a regular on this podcast. He
Yeah,
does the Milestone Book Club with us. And his single biggest pet peeve is when people don't get black hairstyles right. He's
yeah.
sitting there going, you never get a gun wrong. You never get a car wrong. You go out and you do research. If you're going to do a black hairstyle, go out and do the research. There's no excuse. It just drives them up the wall.
Yeah. No, I'm Marcus and I are on the same page about a lot of
Yeah.
these things. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh, another thing that I noticed in the first volume, and it strikes me in the title of the second volume, is uh, the music that kind of runs through it, both literally and in terms of just the pacing. It feels like jazz, and I'm expecting this next one to feel more R&B, soul, whatever. And for that matter, when I saw the subtitle of the next movement, part of me thought, oh, the next civil rights movement, but part of me also thought in musical terms, it's the second movement of a symphony, etc. Was that deliberate? How do you think of music with your writing, with your art? Um,
It was all accidental. We
accidental.
were we
In other words, we did it all on purpose, man. It
we
was
we we we, we, we we fought over that subtitle so much. But no, music does play a crucial part in this new volume for sure. Um, Last summer I was in Memphis and I went to both the Civil Rights Museum and the Stax Museum. And
Stacks.
I'm a huge Stax fan. You
Love
know,
stacks.
I'm in that the ever never ending battle between Motown versus Stax. I'm team Stax,
Stacks. All stacks.
all
I mean,
Stax.
Motown's good, but all
Yeah.
stacks.
Stacks
Um,
with an X.
yes.
That's right.
That's the editor coming in with her 2 cents.
That's right.
so, but I really started thinking about what a crucial role music has always played in the Black community, and we were doing that in the first, it was set during the Harlem Renaissance, which was this
Right.
massive explosion of art and creativity. And the 60s was also this massive explosion. It wasn't just music. This is where James Baldwin found his voice.
Yep.
And this is where, you know, Sidney Poitier became the
Mhm.
biggest, literally the biggest movie star in America. People don't remember
Right.
that. They don't think
Right.
about him that way. And I thought, and Shelly was really like, "Where's the music? Where's the music?" I
Of
was like,
course she
"We,
was.
we got it
That,
coming," So
that's why you hired me.
yeah.
That's the and I must say in the go-go boots, I was told that if I edit this arc, I was allowed to wear my go-go boots to the office.
you also you also got go-go boots on the first cover.
That's
Well,
right.
somewhat,
Did.
yeah. all in your honor.
Why, thank you.
So now since we're loving on Shelly a little bit here, what does Shelly bring to the project?
Very little this time.
Yeah. I don't buy that. I'm
Very,
asking
very
them, not
little.
you. Do I have to
Okay,
mute you, Miss Bond?
The reason why
maybe so.
we're on this podcast is because of Shelly.
I did notice that.
She wrangled all of us together so that we can look. This is the only reason I see Matt for the first time in person is because of
Shelly is glue.
Thank you,
She's the
Shelly.
glue that keeps us together. And
right.
I'm doing a
Exactly.
project right now, uh, and I hit this point where I was like, something's not working, something's wrong, and I was like, oh, I don't have an editor, and I don't have Shelly as an editor. And what was the first thing I did? It was like break glass in case of emergency, And I called Shelly. I was like, could you just take a look at some of this stuff? And then I get these notes back, and I was like, damn, she's right. She's right about all this stuff. So, um, it can be difficult to explain what an editor does.
That's why she's got a trilogy of books that everybody
Yes.
should buy and read.
And
Thank you, Tad.
but the reality is that a good editor makes it all like brings it all together and holds it all together, especially when there's conflicts within a team or there's scheduling difficulties or whatever. And that's it. Like I tell people all the time, I've been working in comics for years. I never fully understood what an editor did until I worked with Shelly. And now it's like it's kind of spoiled me, right? So put her on the spot a little bit.
We're gonna put her on the spot some more.
Uh-oh.
When there is mentions in different circles, podcasts, and whatnot, about legendary works, everything from Sandman to you name it.
Shade.
Shade.
Shade's one of her favorites.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It might have led her to somebody special.
Right. I mean, her name comes, comes up in the conversations. We are working with a legendary editor. I mean, there's
Oh no.
you hear
Yes.
you hear these names like oh gosh,
You don't hear any other names. That's the thing.
there is no other name.
Hey.
Hey,
Burger.
I have more.
Karen Berger and
Right.
you hear of other various editors throughout the history of both companies. The one that escapes me from Marvel, he used to be known as the friendliest editor. Everybody loved him. I can't remember his name right now.
Archie
He came up
Oh,
with What If.
Mark
Archie Goodwin?
Grunberg.
Mike Grunwald. Grunwald.
Grunwald.
Grunwald.
Mark Grunwald.
Yeah.
Archie
He came
Goodwin,
up with all these incredible initiatives over there, and her name is mentioned within these
Well,
other names.
yeah,
And
one would think you owe me some artwork, Sanford. I think you're being so nice to me, but you're not really necessarily late on anything. I think if I can say right now,
the editorial is coming out now.
yeah, well, strange enough,
This is her way of deflecting. You're not going to deflect.
It is.
Yeah.
perhaps
You're
it
going to
is.
take all of this love. We don't say it enough. We definitely don't say it enough in a collective like this. We might say it, individually.
I mean, I got to tell you, it's one of the reasons that I wanted to have her and all of you guys is because she deflects every time that I talk about how important she's been to comics in my lifetime. And I figured we could gang up on her if it was all
Well,
of us.
That
So
listen, I appreciate it, but I have to be honest with you, editing freelance is not an easy gig. But one of the
No.
things I wanted to add on to what David was saying is that the good editors, whether they're freelance or they're working for a big publisher, keep the schedules running, keep the trains on time, stay in touch with people. But a great editor knows how to customize her skills or her skill set for each and every team. And this one can be very tricky because, of course, Bitterroot at its core is about racism and about social and political issues that we face in our daily lives, but it's also about family dysfunction. And that's what this team does best. And when I step inside the ring, okay, I step inside the ring.
Here it
I'm,
is.
I,
Here it
I'm,
is.
I'm always the shortest girl in the room. I always will be. But I also carry a big brick because the only way to get
Not even
shit
a big
done,
stick. She carries a
right?
big brick.
I carry, well,
Right.
I was nicknamed the brick by David
Okay.
because I take no prisoners. To get comics done in a timely fashion and to make them amazing, you just got to take charge and run like your clothing is on fire. And that's what has to happen day in, day out when you're on the schedule. And right now, a month from seeing our amazing comic book in our hands, there's no time for sleep and there's no time for excuses. So we all just have to step up and swing. So that's what I contribute to this team. Um, there's just, there are going to be errors in comics and you just can't be afraid to make them. And you just have to step up and you have to say, look, here we are. There's no turning back. The next movement is here. And that's what I think this team needs as a reminder that they started out with no fear, they continue with no fear, and we all just have to be accountable because we're in it together.
And now that Shelly said that, I'm gonna share this, put her back on the spot so she can deflect again. More often than not, I'm at conventions, and the question people ask me, they don't say, "What's it like working with Chuck?" They don't say, "What's it like working with Sanford?" They say, "What's it like working with Shelly?" And
Ha
what's
ha
interesting, no,
ha.
it's true.
This is where this
I
is where this is where David owes me script and he's just
Yes,
trying
well,
to
he
be super
does, yeah.
nice.
But
Just kidding.
what's happening, I've been for years I've been teaching at Portland State University in their comic studies program. And so I'm working with this generation of young people that are like considering careers in comics, and they are like a lot of them aren't thinking about being writers or artists. They're like they've come up to me and said, I really want to be an editor. And Shelly has taught comics editing at Portland State University. So maybe that's why I have such um a large percentage of people coming up to me asking me what it's like working with you because I'm, at local shows and things like that. But I actually had somebody reach out to me and say, literally was like, what advice, is there a way I can get in touch with Shelly for advice? I want to be an editor. And I said, Shelly's got these books that she's put out. If you haven't seen them, check them out. And I think what's really crucial is that like now we're starting to understand, the importance of what an editor does. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's working on a graphic novel at a book publisher, not a comic publisher. And he hadn't heard from his editor in over a year. He'd been turning
That's
in stuff, and
nuts.
then he turned in a ton of pages. And after a year, the editor came back and said, "These don't work. You're gonna have to go back and do them again." And excuse me, I was like, there's there's a ton of us that have worked in the comics industry, the month to month floppies, and then you transition over into the graphic novel world, and it's so completely different. And the thing is in that world, it's all populated by editors who don't know a thing about comics, and they don't know how to communicate with the creative teams.
And they
And
don't know about art. They don't have
yeah,
a visual acuity, and they don't realize that the most important stage of all is the stage where you go from the script to the layout, because
yeah,
that's where you can fix things easily.
yeah.
That's the
And
only stage where you should really be making big fixes.
and so it's crazy because I'm in another scenario where I'm doing a book for a book publisher, and the communication is so different. And it's a big book, and it's like we should be communicating, we're used to communicating 22, 24 pages at a time, but in between that, one or two pages at a time. Uh, Whereas in this other world, you're communicating after 250 pages are written. And I said to the team that I'm working with on this other book, that I'm working on right now. And I said, I really like some feedback now. Like we're, it's a 260 page book. And around page 200, I said to everybody, I was like, I need to know if we're going in the right direction. Like I'm getting to this big climactic battle, which for me can be difficult to write. And I said, please, somebody say something. And they were like, just finish the book. And so, now it's been a month and I'm waiting. I'm still waiting to hear, do I have to go back to page one and start all over again? Because you gotta read those contracts. You gotta see what they're all about. Um, I've never had to do more rewrites in in the monthly comic world. You don't have to do a ton of rewrites. Sometimes you do, but for the most part, man, those, like, you're on a different schedule. You're on a completely different schedule. So, um, I think all of this, Shelly, is to let you know how much you're appreciated, but to also let other people know, like, okay, like, comics is a real business, and if you don't, like, take all of it seriously, even you don't have to want to be a letterer or a penciler or a colorist. I'm dealing with that now where it's like, I don't know how to talk to a colorist. I realized that recently. And Shelly, you and I have talked about this a little bit. It's like, oh, I don't understand color that well. I understand it well enough to go, well, I don't like this, but I can't tell you what's wrong with it. And once you start talking about things like lighting sources or rim lights and stuff, like, I'm like, I'm lost. And I'm realizing, oh, now I need to dig a little bit deeper and understand that aspect of it, because as a writer, I need to understand that if the colorist doesn't do their job properly, that's going to affect the book. If the inker doesn't do their job properly, that's going to affect the book. I don't have to know how to do these things, but I need to know how to
Right.
communicate with
It's
people.
learning the parlance. And
Yes.
that's something that I love to bring up in my teaching. And I won't go on and on about this, but it must be said that I'm teaching at Portland State because my very first boss, Diana Schutz, an incredible editor in her own right, had asked me to take over her comics editing class that she taught for one semester. But I've stuck with it because people like David, who teach comics writing for Portland State, so many of his students come into my class and tell me how much they loved comics writing. They didn't even think they wanted to be writers, but now they want to become comics writers because he's inspired them. And so I think it's so true. I think the greatest thing about making comics is that you can be a Jack or Jill of all trades. You should know a little bit about every stage because you want to earn the respect of everyone on the team because it's a collaboration. So you might only have two people on a project if you're the writer and the artist and you're working with an editor. But more often than not in comics, there are 5, 6, 7 people, and we're passing the baton. And the joy of a book like Bitter Root is it gets into a monthly rhythm and we just have to get it done. And we're all weighing in at different stages, but we're all a part of the final comic. And that's what makes it exciting because it's urgent art and we're getting it out there fast. And I think one thing I want to share about this team in particular, I was saying how it's important that we're getting this comic book out now. And the time is perfect. We have to kind of join together, whether we're facing similar obstacles politically or socially, or within the comics community. We had so many horrible things happen just over the past few months with distribution, with Diamond declaring Chapter 11 and Chapter 7 usually follows. There are always going to be so many hoops to jump through and hurdles, but comics has a way of maintaining its staying power. And I think we really do have to evolve and we do have to inspire the people around us not to give up and to know that comics is going to stick around. What we have to do is respect each other's points of view and make it better. And that's where I'm going to actually have to step aside and let other people talk here because there's so many other interesting things to say about Bitter Root. But I do appreciate my team and accolades. I appreciate that you guys know how much it means to me to be a part of this group. And there are characters in this arc from the 60s. One of them is named Judy, and they are important in terms of how the cousins of Bitterroot relate to each other. Because I think it's worth saying that um, whether you're from different ethnicities or not, it is important to look at the different sides and the different points of view within this particular story in the 60s. And just know, yes, there's going to be great music. There's going to be a DJ. And at first, when David started talking, I thought he was actually playing the part of the DJ character, who is anonymous. You certainly sound like one today, David. But please know that this team doesn't just bring back all of the threats and the horrors that, yes, you can expect, but the integration of some new characters, both on the police force and in the home base, if you will, of the of where we're used to seeing some of our major players is going to be interesting and has changed indubitably. That's
Yeah,
my
there's
mic drop. That's my mic drop.
I love
That's
it.
your mic drop. On that note, I feel inspired. I'm going to go finish the last page.
That's a good idea.
And,
The last page of issue 3, not of issue
Last-
1, right?
the last page. Well, if we were doing the last page of issue 1, then I don't know what
We'd be in trouble.
I don't know what that email was earlier today. That email has issue 1 in it. But yes, I gotta.
Nobody sent me issue 1.
Well, we are
Soon come.
approving it. We are approving it for print, but Sanford is well along on issue 3,
Excellent.
or I'd be hitting him with a big stick. I'd be in his studio right
Chuck,
now.
have a great evening
Bye.
as
West
well,
Coast.
Chuck.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks for the invite, Ted. Thank you.
Absolutely. And
before you
hopefully
leave, Chuck.
we'll get together when we can do spoilers at the end of this arc, because
Yeah,
it's
that's
always fun to come back and revisit it.
cool. Absolutely.
Chuck,
Thanks, guys.
I love you, Chuck.
I do not
I'll
love
hug you next time I see you.
I love you.
Hug.
I want to see you guys hug, and I'm going to see you hug at Heroes Con.
And
You
just
can hug by. You can first hug by wrestle. You can wrestle.
Oh, are you guys
Hug and
all
wrestle.
going to be out at Heroes
Are you
Con this
coming to
year?
Heroes Con, Shelly?
I am.
Nice.
See, then now I have to go to Heroes Con.
it hasn't
I was already looking at it.
Well,
Now I
it
really have to
hasn't
go.
it hasn't been announced, so I'm sure I'm going to
Okay.
get in trouble. However,
No, because my mom won't tell anybody, and she's the
Oh,
only one
good.
guaranteed to be listening.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, I'm very excited. This is a recent news, so yeah, lots of big things to come, Chuck. I'll be in touch because I'm excited to kind of hang at the show.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
You guys take
Okay,
care.
now I really have to make it out to Heroes Con this year. So, I was just looking through the solicits for the 2 issues out already, and I saw Freedom Riders. So without spoiling too much,
Yeah.
you want to tell me a little bit of more
Yeah,
more?
I mean-
I mean, Shelly gave the pitch talk, but you want to get into a little bit of the
the court
Juice.
story takes place in 1964, and it deals with if you study the history of the civil rights movement, 1964 is when the Freedom Riders went out. Freedom Riders were volunteers who were going into the South. Most of them were from northern cities. They went into the South. They were registering people to vote. They were really pushing the civil rights movement agenda. And in 64 there was a lot of violence. And so our story takes place around a group of Freedom Riders who were attacked by forces that we're pretty sure are Genu forces, and 3 of them have disappeared, and the family has been investigating these similar events that have been going on throughout the South for the last couple of years, and what they uncover as the story progresses is a Genu threat beyond anything they could have ever conceived of. And we talked about it a lot, but 64 just seemed like a really good time and space. Malcolm X was still alive at that point. Um, the Black Panther Party hadn't formed yet. Dr. King had a year earlier had done the March on Washington, had given the I Have a Dream speech. But 64 is when, you know, in Mississippi, Goodman, Cheney, and Swarner, they were essentially similar to Freedom Riders. Um, that's when they disappeared and they were
Yep.
famously murdered by local law enforcement in Mississippi. And and the thing was, what a lot of people don't remember or don't know was that in the search to find these three missing men, Goodman, Cheney, and Swarner, um, they found all these other bodies. Like the local law enforcement and the Klan were murdering black people and hiding the bodies. And so while people were looking for the bodies of these three men, they found these other bodies. And I just felt like, 1964 really feels like a crucial turning point, but not just in terms of what was going on within the civil rights movement, but also in a pop culture movement too, right? It was like the psychedelic 60s hadn't come in yet, but we were
No,
the
but the
British
Beatles were here.
yeah, the British invasion had
Hmm.
started.
Yep.
And in terms of art, things were just beginning to really get exciting. And I just thought, yeah, let's just do this. Let's set it in 64. And we went back and forth. We talked about it, but I'm the most stubborn one out of the group. And so 64 just became the year. And Mississippi because there's a song by Nina Simone called Mississippi Goddamn. And it was really that's one of the songs that I listen to as I'm working on this is like um
I was at Nina Simone's final Chicago performance, her
wow.
second to last,
Whoa.
her second to last performance in the United States. Because she did one in Detroit to end the tour, and then she went home to France and never came back to the States. Um, that was one of the songs that she actually stood for.
Yeah.
She had she had somebody, mostly she played at her piano. She was like almost was think she was in her 80s. She
Yeah.
was frail enough that I was in the second balcony of the Chicago Theater, and when she stood, I found myself leaning forward. And I looked down, and like everybody else was leaning forward too. It's like, we'll catch you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she had a younger gentleman that walked with her to the microphone and held her arm while she sang that song, and like brought the fucking house down.
I was going to say, Tad, I would imagine tears just flew out of your eyes. Like, I
Absolutely.
could see
I
that.
mean, I have never been at a show with any artist who had more absolute control over the crowd than Nina Simone. When she told us to stand, we stood. When she told us to sit, we sat. When she told us to clap, we clapped. When she told us to stop clapping, we stopped clapping. When she told us that we were clapping the wrong beat, we fixed it. And all of these things actually happened. And
Yeah, no,
it was an
Amazing.
hour and a half of just pure magic.
she's definitely a big influence and again going back to Stax Records was also
Yeah.
a huge influence in what we're trying to do. And just but more than anything, setting out to make a good comic.
Yeah.
Like the goal for me is always like what do we have to do to make the best comic we can possibly do? And um some people will love it. Hopefully most people will love it. And
Yeah.
those that don't, that's kind of their cross to bear, right?
Right.
There's enough comics out there, just like there's enough music out there, there's enough film out there that if you don't like something, you don't have to watch it. Like there's no
Right.
reason to complain about it.
This
Just
is this
Yeah.
is one of the absolute, Tyler and I agreed on this when we started the show. One of our absolute things on 22 panels is we don't bash comics. If we don't like it, we don't talk about it. There's
Yeah.
plenty of comics we do like to talk about.
Absolutely.
All
This is where I have to jet. Unfortunately, I've got
right. Well,
another
then you got to
call.
tell me really quick something you love that not enough people have experienced, and you need them to, so you can talk to them about it.
Well, that's always tough, just the one, but I'll
You
always
can do
say,
more than one.
I'm just gonna say the comic book that made me a lifer. Anyone know what that was? Anyone who's here at the show?
I'm
I
sure
feel
you
like I
told me.
should.
I know, right?
All
David,
right.
any guesses? Matt, you would be really going in the dark there. But David, do you have a good guess?
I'm sick. Don't make me guess.
Okay, it's Stray Bullets. It's
Okay.
Stray Bullets, and I
Yeah,
do want
yeah.
to
I
tell
still need
you,
to talk to Lapham. I haven't gotten him on the show yet.
well,
I'm
let
gonna
me
have to
just
have you help me.
I'm gonna correct your pronunciation of his name. It's
Oh,
Lapham.
it's
So
Lapham. Okay. Thank you.
The H is silent. I love putting that in my books too. I'm sure, Tad, you noticed how I phonetically spelled Brian Bolland and
I'm
Steve
always happy for that.
Aloha. So David Lapham, an absolute genius. I happen to be working with him again, thank God, on another freelance job. But I always say
Yay.
I say to people, I read Stray Bullets and I fell to my knees. And I said, this comic just made me a comics
I
lifer.
think I've showed you this. My only piece of original art
What?
is a page of stray bullets.
What page?
Uh
I'm dying.
I thought
I'm
I showed it to
dead.
you.
You
It's
might have.
it's the couch scene from the end of Killers.
Oh, okay. Wow. You might have,
Yeah.
maybe you did show it to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I'm
end
not
it.
allowed to put it up in anywhere but my office because my wife's like, Andy got you that page? And I'm like, yeah, because it's awesome.
Well, I'm gonna leave you by saying that as I finish the final part of my graphic memoir trilogy,
Right,
there is the David Lapham story that I wanted to tell about how I heard he was available because I had always wanted to work with him and I don't fangirl, but
right.
I absolutely like had to stop the car. I need to get out moment to get myself back to the office to phone David Lapham. So I'm going to leave you there. Stray Bullets #1 made me a comics lifer. So I
I love
recommend
it.
if you haven't read it, please go find it. Thank you so much, Tad. It's been
Read it
fun
all.
catching up with you. And Matt, great to
Yep.
meet you.
Yep.
And
Great to meet you.
David, you're the best. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon,
All
guys.
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Shelly, we'll talk again soon, I'm certain. David and Matt, same question.
Matt, you go
If
first.
if
Oh
only
no.
because David clearly can't talk for too much longer. I don't wanna kill him.
Right.
My friend
um,
Marcus would get mad.
oh gosh. All right. So let's see. I guess where I got my start in comics, both reading and professionally, I'd recommend checking out Sonic the Hedgehog comics.
Oh.
Yeah, like they're at IDW now, and they are,
Do,
you know,
do,
like
do you do
what's
you
up?
have a particular Sonic the Hedgehog that's like your Sonic the Hedgehog?
Uh, what do you mean?
I mean, like Sonic
Uh,
comics have been around forever, so I
well, that's
assume there have
true.
been different creative teams, different
Yeah,
whatever.
I gotcha.
So, I mean, was there a story arc or a creative team? I mean, I don't know enough about Sonic the Hedgehog comics
I
to
gotcha.
even ask this question,
I gotcha.
though I have known a Sonic colorer.
Yeah, no, I would say check out, oh gosh, like if you can find them in like back issue bins, check out like it's like 185 to like 195. It's a fun story, tons of characters, tons of hedgehogs. Like written by Ian Flynn, Tracy Yardley, and at the very end of that story arc, colored by me. So,
Uh-huh.
mhm.
Very cool.
I will have to this is why I asked this question, because if somebody's going to come up with something that I haven't read before, or something that I know about but never in a million years would have read, except that somebody goes, I love this. It's like, okay, now I gotta go
I
look
gotcha.
at it.
Well, that was honestly like that. Sonic was also where I saw Sanford's work for the first time. He had done a series of covers for it around that time too.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
For me, it's I'll talk about the book that changed me, not the book that made me love comics or anything. That
Yeah.
was the book that changed me was Kyle Baker's Why I Hate Saturn, the
I love
original
that
edition.
book.
He has since redone the lettering, which is fine, but I've always been a big fan of Kyle Baker. Everything he does, I love. But that I actually stopped reading comics for nearly 10 years after that because I knew I was never going to read a comic better than that. And it took
It's
nearly
so good.
15 to 20 years for the industry and the creatives to catch up and start telling stories that were that fun, that compelling. And as far as creators go, he's like he's it. He's an auteur.
Oh, he's
You know, Will Eisner's an auteur. He did everything.
still
And
haven't quite had him on the show, though we've traded emails a number of times.
yeah,
And now I'm
that's
gonna
how
have to
he
go
is.
email him again because it's like, hey, you just got brought up and we still haven't talked.
Well, if you
'Cause,
get
yeah,
him,
I
tell him
adore
that
Kyle Baker.
I like I'm to a point now where I'd like to do something with him, even if it's just a short story. He's had
Yeah,
such a tremendous impact on me. And excuse me, when I'm working on something, I will often think to myself, not what would Kyle Baker do, but what would Kyle Baker encourage me to do?
right,
So yeah, I love his work and it feels like not enough people know it.
right.
It's he was
Yeah, it drives me up the wall the number of people who don't know
yeah,
it.
I think he was a victim of being ahead of his time and,
Hmm.
and in an industry that still doesn't know what to do with true creative genius.
Right.
So that said, I'll probably
I mean, he's
start
the only
again.
one ever to win an Eisner for a comic that hadn't been published.
Yeah, yeah. For the what was it that I can't think of
The Superman's babysitter.
yeah, the bizarre it
Yeah,
wasn't
Letitia Lerner,
yeah.
Superman's babysitter, which I swear to God is probably also the inspiration for the Jack Jack short
Oh yeah,
in The
in The
Incredibles.
Incredibles. Yeah. No, it definitely
I did get to ask Paul Levitz about that,
yeah.
and his response was, "Sometimes you just blow it." It's
They
like,
eventually did print that
yeah, it's been
story
yeah.
in the collection.
They have since put it in a few collections.
But yeah, no, they he's really that's sort of sadly, I feel like that's a lot of where his career has been at, has been,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's annoyingly hard to get your hands on. I was just thinking about this today because I've been reading Eve Ewing's new book, Original Sins,
yeah,
and it made me think of Birth of a Nation that he did
yeah,
with Aaron McGruder and Reginald Hudlin,
yeah,
which is annoyingly hard to get your hands on,
yeah. No,
and
I
it's
just
so
for a
damn
side
good.
story for another time. I was the one
Yeah.
who made that book happen.
Were you?
Yeah.
Well, then like if you still have contact with those people, I would love to have all three of them talk about that book someday.
They'll
Just tossing
never
that out there.
they'll never they're I'm assuming Reggie and Kyle are on speaking terms, but nobody talks to Aaron. No one
Nobody
talks to
talks to Aaron
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
That's sad.
It's yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, that was a it was a screenplay that they couldn't sell, and
Okay.
and I said turn it into a book, and Aaron felt that he didn't have what it took to draw it, and I said then get Kyle, and he said I can't afford Kyle, and I said yeah, but your publisher can, and you've got a 3 book deal, and one of those books can be anything you want. And so you go to them, you say you can get Kyle Baker, then they'll pony up the money to pay Kyle Baker, and you turn this from a screenplay into a graphic novel, and you'll be set. And that's what they did. And all of Kyle's stuff is difficult to find,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating,
Which is
and
why
again,
I back him on Patreon because he sends out PDFs of the new stuff.
there you go. In fact, you know what? I didn't even realize that he was on Patreon. I will
He
sign up for
is.
it today.
He
Sign up for
is.
him today.
And like when he sent out the first PDF of like his new thing is like Olympic triathlon
Yep, decathlon.
triathlete that yeah. So when he
Decathlon,
sent
yeah.
that out, I'm like, okay, you just gave me this for free. I'm doubling my monthly.
Yeah.
Because Kyle's
He's great.
just
He's great. I don't know what it is yet, but him and I are going to collaborate on something.
well, I
He's one
can't
of the
wait to see
few
it.
creatives I really want to work with on something. So
Yeah.
there you go. I've inspired you to reach out to him. You've inspired
Yeah,
me to
I'm
reach
gonna have
out
to
to him.
write him another email right now.
All right.
Um, anything else from either one of you before we head out into the sunset?
No, just thanks for having us. And Matt, welcome to the
Yeah,
team. We haven't really communicated yet, so I
yeah,
love the
no.
work that you're doing. I love the colors, and
Wow,
you know,
thank you.
we you know, you know, we're getting ready to launch this thing. We'll see what happens. I think that people are going to respond well to it. That's my hope. We'll see.
Yep.
And I'm late
Final,
for, so I'm going to go
yeah.
work on that right now.
Final order cutoff is March 3rd, and the book will be in the stores the day after my birthday on March 26th. For the Bitterroot team, this has been 22 Panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.